The word ahd is a very interesting word. You can say that the word ahd has a meaning of commitment. Any form of commitment is called ahd. And commitment always brings what? It brings two individuals, isn't it? You make a commitment towards someone. And well, therefore, there is someone you've made commitment to. Or you might actually make a commitment towards a principle in life, isn't it? So, for example, when you say, "عاهدت الله ألا أكذب," I have made a covenant with Allah that I will not lie. Well, Allah is involved here, but there is something agreed upon. That is what? That you will not lie. Or, for example, you say, "عاهدت نفسي," I have made a promise to myself, عاهدت نفسي أن أكون صالحا, that I remain a righteous person. So you have committed to yourself. So there is always another party in that word ahd. Ahd carries that meaning of responsibility as well, carries the meaning of responsibility, the dignity, liability. When there is ahd, there is always what? There is always liability. When someone made a ahd to do something, you can hold them accountable for what they have promised. If they have failed to do that, for example, one of the words that one of the meanings of the word ahd that we will look at is the people of ahd. The people of ahd are the Jews and Christians in a Muslim land. They are the people of ahd. And anyone who enters a Muslim country or enters a country with a visa, he's a person of what? Of ahd, right? Because he comes in with a visa. Once you have a visa, it means it's almost like a signature or a commitment that you will not betray the law of this country, that you will not cause any damage to this country, that you will not infringe upon the rights of others in this country. So the people who have been given ahd and uhda are the individuals who have been there is like liability towards them to protect them and so on and so forth. So that word is quite central. We have also a word very related to it, which is called the word aqd. Aqd, right? The word aqd, and if you can see, you can notice that the word ahd and aqd, they only differ in one letter. That's in the middle, right? There is a theory in language that certain words that come from that share essential letters, like two essential letters out of three, they have a common meaning, and by adding a third letter, you have an extra meaning. So, for example, ayn and dal together, ayn and dal indicate counting and accountability. Counting and accountability. For example, if you have the word adad, it's numbers. And normally, why do we number things? Why do we put numbers? To hold people accountable, isn't it? So that if you get the wrong number, I'm able to hold you accountable for that and say, no, this is the wrong number, right? And if you add a letter to the ayn and dal at the beginning and you say wa'd, for example, wa'd is a promise, right? And normally when there is wa'd, there is what? There is accountability. Oh, but you promised me. Why did you promise me and you did not fulfill, isn't it? Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that that in Allah la yukhlifu al-mi'ad. Allah does not kind of like Allah will always keep his promise to you. When he promised that there will be a day of judgment, he will not. That's وَلَوْ تَوَعَدْتُمْ لَاخْتَلَفْتُمْ فِي الْمِعَادِ. If you were like to agree on a timing, you will not be able to keep it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala arranged it because he had a plan for you. So now aqd and ahd have shared that essential ayn and dal. But if you see the ha of ahd, there is softness in it, isn't it? There is softness in it. While the qaf in the middle of aqd, there is harshness in it. What does that tell you? Just by taste, I want you to kind of like practice your natural linguistic, primordial taste for language. The qaf indicates roughness, harshness. And aqd actually means a documentation, a contract, while ahd is a commitment. There is no documentation there. There might become, but not necessarily, right? So aqd is a contract. That's why in the in the fiqh, the second part of fiqh, the second quarter in the books of fiqh, well, judging from one madhab, madhab Malik, but pretty much all other madhab as well, is a chapter on mu'amalat, is the section on transactions. And we have what we call al-uqud, the contracts, starting from the contract of sale, bay', and then the contracts that are similar to sale. For example, there is a contract of ijara, hiring someone to do some service for you. That's a contract as well. It's not a sale, but it's similar to sale, because in sale, I'm buying something and you're giving me that item. But in ijara, you are actually buying someone's effort, isn't it? You're hiring someone to do something for you. That's called buying someone's effort. You're paying for something that's not tangible. Well, but it has obviously a benefit for you. There is something called, similar to bay', that's called al-wakala, where basically you give someone power of attorney, or kind of like allow them to act on your behalf, and so on and so forth. And we have a aqd called aqd that similar to bay' as well, aqd al-salam, where you pay now and get the items that you want later. For example, many people do that, like people who have factories and stuff like that. They pay for product, that raw material that is going to be delivered to them later. So they pay now and it will be delivered later. Or for example, you buy crops, right? That you will take upon the harvest season. Obviously, madhab differ in that. Some madhab allow it, some madhab do not allow it. Some madhab do not allow it because they say, well, we don't know when will you are actually buying something now that might or that might not be available later on, isn't it? You don't know if it will ripen in 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or something like that. But some other madhab would allow it because they say, well, the urf, the nature is that it does happen. The nature is that it does happen, and it's possible. It's very I mean, like, people know when will the crops come, isn't it? Farmers know that in 5 months it will be the season for harvesting wheat. In 3 months it will be the season for harvest cotton. So they know something like that. So aqd is a ahd plus, as we will see later on, but it has this harshness and strength next to it. And then we have the word mithaq, which is actually going to be the ahd and the mithaq will be the words that we use alternatively in this course, inshallah. Mithaq is almost like a charter. It's almost like a pact, a covenant. Well, we can say actually covenant is both ahd and mithaq, but as from the word the word mithaq is coming from the word wathaqa, and wathaqa means to trust. You basically trusting someone, and there is something interesting about the word mithaq, because it has the same root of withaq. Actually, the word withaq is another word for mithaq. Al-withaq is the chain. When you chain someone, you tie someone. فَإِذَا أَثْخَنْتُمُوهُمْ فَشُدُّوا الْوَثَاقِ. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about certain captives, and he says, when you catch them, then tie them well. So the word withaq or wathaq or mithaq carries that meaning of what? Tying, right? So if ahd carries the meaning of commitment, aqd carries the meaning of contract, and also the word aqd is from aqada, to tie a knot, وَمِنْ شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ, those who blow in the knots. Then the word mithaq carries the meaning of not just tying a knot, because a knot that is tied can be what? Can be unknotted. But a mithaq, a chain, when you chain someone, you're not going to make a knot that can be unknotted. You're going to make sure that it is proper and it is fixed, as we will see. So mithaq carries that meaning. Mithaq is a covenant, is a pact, is an agreement, is a bond as well. So that the withaq is the bond, is the fetter. And we will, as we will see later, inshallah ta'ala, that the word mithaq is always used in the Quran to refer to big things, heavy things. For example, marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls marriage mithaqan ghalidha, strong and heavy mithaq. Why is that? Because this is not a light thing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He takes the commitment of the prophets to believe in our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as in Surah Al-Imran, He says, وَإِذْ أَخَذْ, and in other places, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا in Surah Al-Ahzab, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ مِيثَاقَهُم, when we took from the prophets their mithaq. Wow, that's a big thing. Allah has taken from the prophets a covenant, commitment, an agreement that they will believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We will see that inshallah ta'ala. Also, we have the word hilf, which carries the meaning of covenant and promise and commitment. But the word hilf, from the halafa in Arabic means to make halafa means to swear, to make an oath. Al-halif is to swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do something. And the hilf is the confederacy, is an alliance. Whether you make an alliance with someone as an individual, or countries make an alliance with each other. In Jahiliyyah, in pre-Islamic Arabia, this concept of ahlaf was always common, was very, very common. Why? Because people, due to mobility in the desert, people needed always as individuals to attach themselves to big entities. One individual would put themselves associated with a bigger entity. So if, let's say, for example, you are from Yemen and you go to the middle of Arabia and you happen to be in the land of a tribe like the tribe of Tayy, you will make a hilf with the tribe of Tayy and you enter into a pact, into an agreement, into an alliance with the tribe of Tayy. This hilf means there is a commitment both sides. Your commitment is you will respect their land, you will respect their women, you will respect their authority, and when they ask you come and help, you will help. When they say come, it is time for ghara, it's time for a raid, they going on a raid or they going to fight, they ask come, you will be with them, you will fight like with them, right? And this was very honorable. And what do you get in return of this hilf from them? Protection and access to land. So you can graze your camels, you can graze your sheep, you can live with them as one of them, but you're never one of them, right? You are never one of them, i.e. you are not associated to them by lineage, but you're associated to them by what? Alliance. And people used to do that. Individuals used to do that. Small tribes used to do that. In fact, Ikhwani Kiram, in fact, you can say, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually entered into hilf. He entered into ahlaf sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's almost, you can say, it is replaced by alliances that countries do today. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a hilf with one of the tribes called Khuza'a. Before Fath Mecca, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went in Hudaybiyah, in the 7th year, the 6th year after the Hijrah, and then he went to Umrah al-Qada in the 7th year after the Hijrah. One of the agreements that he had with Quraysh was that whoever wants to have an alliance with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have an alliance with him, and whoever wants to have an alliance with Quraysh would have an alliance with them. And that was a very interesting thing, because it was for the first time forcing Quraysh to acknowledge that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a political power in Arabia for the first time. Remember that Quraysh was always dismissive of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They did not consider him and the Muslim community to have any significance. Quraysh, which never stopped anyone from accessing Al-Haram al-Sharif, from coming to Mecca, they were the protectors, the carers of the Haram, and they were required not to stop anyone from entering the Haram. Quraysh stopped the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But at the end of Hudaybiyah, by the end of that agreement, there was an agreement between Quraysh and the Prophet ﷺ that whoever wants to become a halif, an ally of the Prophet ﷺ, they can, and whoever wants to become an ally of Quraysh would become an ally. And that was naturally an acknowledgement of Quraysh that the Prophet ﷺ is now a political power, And whoever wants to become an ally to them, they can become an ally. Therefore, it was a success. It was a strategic success and victory for the Prophet ﷺ. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described Hudaybiyah as Fathan Mubina. Inna fatahna laka Fathan Mubina. A clear opening. That was Hudaybiyah. That was not Fath Makkah. Fath Makkah came later on. But this was revealed in Hudaybiyah. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إن الذين يبايعونك إنما يبايعون الله يد الله فوق أيديهم. So hilf carries that meaning of alliance. You make it, and it's related to the word halafa, which means to take an oath or to swear in the name of God. And also we have the word dhimma, dhimma. And the word dhimma is a very interesting word because, and I'm going to mention its meaning first. Dhimma means to protect, protection, and covenant as well, covenant of protection. You, for example, when the Prophet ﷺ said, he who prays Fajr and Isha in a congregation, فَهُوَ فِي ذِمَّةِ اللَّهِ, he is in the dhimma of Allah, meaning he is in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the word dhimma, that kind of answerableness or protection or liability, and protection in fiqh means also that you are liable and you have credit or you don't have credit, right? Credit or discredit, right? So for example, in Sharia, we have al-bay' bay'un fi dhimma. Bay'un fi dhimma is when you sell someone something, right? And they are committed to pay you later, right? They're committed to pay you later. That is the sale. You have given them the item. I bought something from you. You give me the item, and I promise I'll bring you the money in a month or something like that. That's what called fi dhimma, i.e., it is on my credit. Obviously, if I have no credit, if I have a bad credit amongst people, have bad reputation, no one will be selling to me because my dhimma is what is a broken dhimma, is a broken dhimma. The word dhimma is very vital for fiqh, for example, as we mentioned in this situation. And also it can be the other way around. If I buy something from you and I have not seen the item, but you described it to me. You described it to me as we do in Amazon, on Amazon, for example, when someone sells you an item and then they bring you don't see the item, but you see an image of the item, or you possibly see a full description of the item. That is called in a contract, bay'u mawsufin fi dhimma. Someone has described something based on their credit. That's why when you buy the item and it comes, you compare it to what has been described. And if it is identical, you give them a good review and you say, yes, these people's dhimma is good. So in the next contract, you read the reviews. What you're actually reading, you're reading a report on people's dhimma, isn't it? You're reading a report on people's dhimma. And you know what? There is a beautiful relation between the word dhimma, which is basically credit, and the word dhamm. Dhamm in Arabic is dispraise. To dispraise someone or to blame someone is called dhamm, right? Why? Because dhimma, what blemishes the dhimma is of and itself is them, isn't it? So dhimma by its nature accepts, accommodates the possibility of blaming them. Once you see that someone has been madhmoom, they have bad reviews, you will say, oh, they don't have a dhimma. And it's so interesting because the word dhamma, right? Dhamma and them is like the difference between dhamma and dhimma is only that ta. It is as if the person has a dhimma, it's complete. If you remove the ta marbuta at the end from it, the person ends up with them. He has an incomplete dhimma, right? He has an incomplete dhimma. So what he has is them. But the word dhimma is also a covenant, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about dhimma, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also talks about dhimma.